What if the first warning sign of dementia isn't forgetting, but hating? Over 60% of dementia cases are first noticed by family members, not doctors. And it's often not because of memory loss, but something far more subtle. A small habit shifts and turns into sudden dislike. These emotional rejections can be the earliest signs of brain decline, long before anyone says the word dementia. In this video, you'll learn about 7 unusual hatreds that may actually be early red flags from the brain. Each one comes from real stories, things families and caregivers noticed, sometimes years before diagnosis. So stay with me until the end. What you'll discover here might help protect someone you love before it's too late. Before we dive in, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these life-changing health insights. Let's begin. Number 1. Suddenly hating certain people for no clear reason. 70-year-old Donald became convinced his longtime neighbor was spying on him. Then he started avoiding the mailman, claiming he gave off a bad vibe. At first, his wife thought he was just getting grumpier with age, but gradually, things escalated. Donald stopped attending family dinners, saying his son-in-law was part of a conspiracy. One morning, he refused to let the cleaner inside, yelling through the door, "I know what you're doing." That was when his daughter pushed for a full cognitive exam. Donald was soon diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, nearly 3 years after those odd behaviors began. Research shows early dementia can distort how the brain reads faces, tone, and intention. What seems like sudden dislike or paranoia may actually come from misreading social cues, a common early symptom especially in certain dementia types. New dementia videos every day. Don't forget to subscribe. Number 2. Hating to leave your own home. Teresa, in her late 70s, started acting strangely in her own house. She'd wander from room to room, saying something felt off. Once, she even asked her husband when they were moving, though they'd lived there for 25 years. At first, her family thought she was just confused, but the disorientation deepened. One night, Teresa stood by the window clutching her purse, whispering, "I'm waiting for my real house to appear." The next morning, her husband found her outside in slippers, holding the mailbox, saying, "This isn't my home." That moment finally convinced the family to seek help. Teresa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease that same week, nearly 2 years after the strange behavior began. Experts explain that early dementia can disrupt spatial awareness and emotional recognition, making familiar places feel foreign. When the brain can't match memory to environment, even home, once comforting, can suddenly seem unsafe, long before anyone suspects dementia. Are these clinical signs helpful to you? Type 1 if they are, or 0 if you'd like me to cover other topics. Your feedback shapes what I share next. Number 3. Hating mirrors, or even their own reflection. At 73, Sheila suddenly started avoiding mirrors. She said they made her feel watched. Once, she even asked her daughter to cover the eyes in the hallway mirror. At first, her family laughed it off, but soon things got darker. Sheila began yelling at her bedroom mirror, accusing the reflection of copying her. One morning, she draped a towel over it and whispered, "She keeps staring at me wrong." That's when her son called for a full evaluation. Sheila was later diagnosed with mixed dementia, both Alzheimer's and vascular. It had been about 1.5 years since the mirror incidents began. Her family felt guilty for not acting sooner. Studies show mirror misidentification, when a person fails to recognize their own reflection, can be an early sign of visual processing failure. The brain starts misinterpreting familiar images, triggering fear, distrust, or even anger. Most people miss early dementia signs, not because they aren't observant, but because they're watching for the wrong things. It doesn't always start with memory loss. Sometimes the very first hint is emotional, a sudden rejection, a strange complaint, or fear of something once safe and familiar. That's how it begins, quietly, and by the time it's clear, the damage is already underway. Number 4. Hating water or refusing to bathe. 70-year-old Kenneth began skipping showers, saying water felt strange. He started wiping off with towels instead. His wife thought he was just being lazy, but soon things got stranger. Kenneth began flinching, washing his hands over and over, and once told his grandson that soap burned like acid. The breaking point came when he poured an entire bottle of cologne on his head and said, "Showers are for fools." That was the day his family finally scheduled a neurological exam. Kenneth was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease later that month, nearly 2 years after the odd behavior first appeared. His wife later admitted she wished she'd taken the warning signs seriously before it was too late. Experts say dementia can alter how the brain processes temperature and texture. When those signals get distorted, normal sensations, like bathing or washing, can start to feel irritating, painful, or even depressing. If you're still watching and finding this valuable, type 1 below and hit that like button. It really supports the channel and lets us know you want more content like this. Number 5. When food suddenly tastes wrong. 3 years before her diagnosis of mixed dementia, 80-year-old Carolyn started rejecting foods she once loved. She pushed away mashed potatoes at dinner, calling them slimy, and once spat out her favorite cherry pie, saying it tasted metallic. At first, her family thought she was just being picky, but her refusals grew stronger over time. One night, Carolyn slammed down her spoon and shouted, "Stop trying to trick me!" after tasting her own homemade soup. The turning point came when she accused her son of poisoning the peanut butter and refused to eat it for days. That's when her family finally demanded a cognitive exam and got the diagnosis they feared. Neurologists confirm that dementia can disrupt the brain's taste and smell centers, making familiar foods seem bitter, metallic, or burnt. Sudden food aversions are often mistaken for fussiness, but they may actually be one of the brain's earliest red flags. Number 6. Sudden sensitivity to clothing or fabrics. 69-year-old Denise became obsessed with how her clothes felt. She tore out every tag, ripped sleeves off shirts, and once cut the waistband off her favorite jeans with scissors. At first, her daughter thought it was just a phase, but the complaints kept getting stranger. Denise said cotton made her skin scream and claimed sweaters crawled when no one was watching. Her family laughed when she showed up to church wearing only a raincoat over her nightgown, saying it was the only thing that didn't attack her. That same day, they finally arranged a neurological workup. Denise was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia nearly 2 years after the fabric sensitivity began. Studies show that unusual tactile sensitivity or irrational discomfort with fabrics can signal early sensory dysphoria in dementia. As the brain loses control of how it interprets touch, textures can start to feel threatening or unbearable. Number 7. Hating the sound of music once loved. 2 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, 76-year-old Larry began reacting badly to music. He'd turn off the radio during car rides, call his favorite jazz albums noise, and once muttered, "Why does everything sound like silence?" during a quiet piano recital. His wife thought he was joking, but his reactions soon became emotional. One afternoon, Larry covered his ears at a family party, saying the birthday song was melting his brain. He later smashed the stereo with a broom, shouting that it made the walls hum. That outburst finally convinced his family to seek help. The diagnosis confirmed their worst fears. Experts have found that dementia can change how the brain processes sound, turning once enjoyable music into something distorted or overwhelming. What once brought joy can suddenly feel unbearable, not from mood, but from neurological disruption. Closing message. If someone you love suddenly rejects things they once cherished, don't brush it off. These aren't just mood swings or quirks. They could be the brain's earliest cry for help. The sooner you recognize the signs, the sooner you can act. Because with dementia, early is everything. And there you have it. What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. Which of these signs resonated with you most or took you by surprise? Share your stories or questions below. Your comments inspire us to keep creating life-changing health videos. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss important updates to protect your loved ones. And please share this video with friends and family. Together, we can build a healthier, more aware community.